Welcome, guys, to the Cocktail Podcast. I've got a very special guest in today. Matt, thank you for coming in. I would
Absolute
say
pleasure.
On your day off, but it's not really. You've been working. And I came in exactly when you finished. So good timing as always.
Yeah, it wasn't a coincidence. It was all planned.
Kick them out early so you can have a podcast.
No, that didn't happen.
No. So today, first cocktail we're going to be doing, Tommy's Margarita. I know it's one of your favourites.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to like the second cocktail as well. We kind of had a chat about what spirit to do beforehand. So it's going to be an interesting one to do. I'm very excited for it. Tommy's Margarita is essentially a margarita, but rather than using Cointreau, like orange liqueur, for the sugar, you use agave syrup, sugar syrup, as the sugar with it. And it means that it's slightly sweeter, but I just find it a much more rounded recipe to have for a margarita and using tequila with it.
Yeah. Well, I guess with the Cointreau, that's supposed to bring out the citrus element of the margarita. And I prefer how the agave brings out the sweetness.
Yeah.
I love how agave works with tequila anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all originated from the agave, so it makes sense to have it with it. So typical, like, Tommy's Margarita recipes, you use 50 ml of tequila. We're using our house tequila, Aquariva, which is an amazing tequila.
100% agave.
Yes, indeed.
Which James always bangs on about. And to be fair, he's right.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
No.
And then 25 ml of lime juice.
Thank you.
It's actually called agave nectar, this stuff, as opposed to
what? Syrup?
Yeah, we usually have agave syrup, so interesting. And then you're going to want to do 15 ml of that. Very syrupy.
Thank you.
And what I actually learned...
Did you say it's very syrupy?
Yeah. I know it is a sugar syrup.
You literally just talked about why it's called syrup.
Yeah, I know, but it's like honey to sorts. But yeah, what I learned the other day from when I made you one, if you put a pinch of salt in it, it tastes so much better. Like the one I made one for when you were in and you had a Tommy's Margarita. It's the best one I've ever had when I added a pinch of salt to it. I didn't do anything different. Yeah. But I think that pinch of salt, because it works with margaritas anyway, just makes a massive difference.
Well, I'm happy to say everything you say with a pinch of salt, so let's go with that.
There you go. Right, shake. And then we need to get our rocks glasses and double strain it over ice.
We'll just use one strainer. Save on the washing up.
Yeah, true.
Save you on the washing up.
Oh, am I doing all the washing up after?
Absolutely.
My podcast, my washing up.
That's the rules.
There you go.
Thank you.
Then I've got some nice dehydrated lime slices to whack in there. It also looks a bit more sunken, but I think that's just the different amount of ice.
Yeah, I think you short served me on the ice a little bit.
That's all right. Be less cool, but more alcohol. So, all right, ready to drink?
Absolutely. I always find it weird when people on TV like look at the camera.
Yeah.
It feels like they're looking at you.
Yeah, because James was like, "Oh, I'm really annoyed at myself because I keep like not looking into the camera, and I need to keep doing that more." And I was like, "Well, it's not that big of a deal. Like you can either."
But I did watch the one with James, and you can barely see him above the bar.
Yeah,
that's why. Is that what customers see?
Yeah, I imagine so. Most of the time. I mean, the camera's quite short, so I imagine if it's taller, they'd see more of him.
Yeah.
So, like, if you came and saw James behind the bar, you'd obviously see like most of him.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, cheers.
Chin chin. Eyes and teeth.
That's when it turns out the ones I made are actually horrible. Done?
Okay. You know me. You've made me many of these before.
Yeah, I know. But usually I don't like measure out the agave syrup.
No, I personally go a little less agave because I like that.
If you want to add some more lime.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy now, but
okay.
I'm not going to complain about your cocktails.
I mean, by all means you can.
I made it.
Oh yeah, true. Actually.
But yeah, I'd probably have slightly less agave.
Yeah, because I usually just free pour it, taste it, and then go,
Yeah.
okay, it needs a bit more, a bit less, rather than just.
But that's the only way you can do it with cocktails. You have to taste them. That's what I was taught when I've made cocktails in the past. Is just you have to keep tasting, and that was easier for me because I'm massively into my cooking.
Yeah.
So it's all about getting that balance of flavors, and the only way you get that is tasting. It's the same when I'm cooking at home, constantly tasting. You can add little bits here and there, and you go totally off a recipe.
Yeah.
I understand the recipe's there for guidance, but
yeah, you can add in little twists here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I kind of noticed as well. Like, you can't just go through a dish, cook it all, and then serve it to someone, or you make it for yourself and you try and you go, actually, that tastes really shit. Needs more salt. Needs some more pepper.
Yeah.
That probably should have been done from you tasting it. The same goes for cocktails.
But adding that little pinch of salt has really heightened everything.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's it's seasoning, isn't it? So.
Yeah. And it's something that people don't do as much, which is what Jack was on about, wasn't he? With adding salt and like MSG to cocktails.
Yeah.
Which is something that.
Is it too soon to talk about Jack? Or?
Well, no, it's just the gentleman that came in and you were having a couple of drinks with. But like Zach and I were talking about putting salt into cocktails.
Yeah.
Before Jack even came in, it was actually on the last podcast episode. We were talking about putting salt into it.
Definitely listen to that.
So yeah.
I do actually want to pick up on one of the past podcasts and just put a statement out there, mainly to James, for him absolutely slating gin and tonic drinkers.
Yeah.
For like I'm going to say a good 15 minutes of the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, you know me. I'm a massive gin and tonic drinker.
Yeah.
I love gin and tonic. And yeah, I want to put it out there to anyone who's listening that you're allowed to drink gin and tonics. Yeah, it's fine.
Absolutely.
Even if you should especially order them with James. Because sometimes the sun's out, you need a quencher. And that's what his design does.
Yeah. I think he just put out a really controversial view.
He did.
And then just fled to Australia and was like, well, nobody's going to be able to know about it. Nobody else.
But I just want to put it out there that I think he's wrong. Obviously, drinks are all subjective. But I think he's wrong.
What tastes subjective?
And it was quite nice to Zach to say last week as well. He obviously agrees with me.
Yeah, I think everybody's just gonna every single time somebody comes on the podcast, oh yeah, I enjoy my gin and tonic.
Yeah,
gonna be a staple from now on. Try to undo James's damage that he caused.
I mean, I cannot undo all of James's damage that he's ever done, not just on this podcast, but just mainly to my liver. But
yeah, no, he has done. Yeah, he's very good at that. So I wanted to ask, so you used to work in Majestic Wines.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
And you did wine training there to become level 4 certificate in wine?
Yeah, so when you join a Majestic, everyone has to do the level 3 if you want to progress. So you go on as a training manager, you have to do the level 3 in wine and spirits.
And that's because obviously you'll be selling wine to customers, so you need to know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
You're not going to have somebody who doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, but also it gives everyone who works there quite a bit of confidence to know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
and confidence really comes across to customers. It's like when people come in here and we know about the food and the drinks. It gives that confidence comes across to the customer and they trust us on our recommendations then. Yeah. After that, I then chose to do my diploma, which is level 4. Is
that the highest rank you can reach?
No, there are levels above that.
Yeah, what's it? Do you know what it goes?
It goes up to Master of Wine eventually.
Is that the title?
I think that's the one after diploma, but it's so far up from a diploma.
What do you do in order to actually gain that qualification? Then what did you have to do?
So it's a 2-year course, and I went and did intensive study weeks, which were quite fun in themselves because I was up in London a week at a time.
Nice.
So there were 4 of those each year. That went on, and you learn about everything to do with wine and spirits, and it's really kind of in detail about all the regions, the topography, the soil, the climate.
They go really in depth into everything.
What particular winds come in at what particular time of year and how that affects the vines.
See, I wouldn't even think that would affect it that much. But...
It's crazy, yeah. The vinification, so how they're making the wine, the viticulture, so what they're doing in the winter once the vines are dormant. Yeah. So what they're doing, they're pruning, they're training all the vines. Yeah, you can get and the more you learn about wine, the further you can go into it. That's what I absolutely loved about it.
Down a rabbit hole. Pretty much. Yeah. And it's similar to the Dunning-Kruger effect. Have you heard of that?
I haven't.
It's people that are amateurs within a field think they know everything about it. and the more and more there comes a stage where you start to learn enough that you go, I actually have no idea about this entire field in general.
Absolutely.
And then as you start to go through all those qualifications and everything and learn more knowledge, you start to get more confidence. There's like a scale where confidence level, like amateur to like pro, and it goes up, down, and then slowly climbs back up again, which I thought was quite cool. It's done by some psychologists. But yeah, like for example, I know absolutely fuck all about wines in general. I know what wines we have on the menu, what they pair with, all that type of stuff. But
well, there you go. That's more than base level.
Yeah.
But also, it's really key to understand, especially with wine. It's about what people like, and also with drinks and stuff. Like you could try and sell your favorite drink all night. Like you're not going to do it. Like sometimes people just want a porn style martini or espresso martini
or a gin and tonic.
Yeah. No, not gin, we're not standing off gin and tonics. A lot of especially when I work for Majestic, a lot of it is it's a commercial wine company, and a lot of people want their New Zealand Sauvignon and their Malbec, which you could probably see.
Yeah,
you've worked as a bartender here.
Yeah, absolutely. Two favourites. You know?
Yeah, they're the top sellers, and that's what people want. And might be like I wouldn't drink those wines. Well, sometimes I would, but I wouldn't go. They wouldn't be my go-tos if I was like having a glass after work. But that's what people, and you have to accept. Yeah, that's what people want, and you have to provide the best version of that. So it's been quite good fun putting the wine list together here.
Yeah, because you're in control pretty much of all the wines that go on the list.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few of us that have got an interest in it. I'm always keen to, if people have got an interest, then let them run, like you guys with the cocktails. And we had a couple of people who were keen to get involved in the wines. Yeah. But yeah, it was good putting it together because obviously the food that's being produced here, our previous wine list didn't quite match up to that. Yeah. I was really keen to have wines that showcase the food a bit better and really have some quirky stuff, but also you can't go away from the mainstream. You need Prosecco, you need New Zealand Sauvignon, you need an Argentinian Malbec on there.
Yeah, that's true. And how would you choose in order to do the wine list? Like, how would you choose from the amount of like wines we could get from our suppliers and narrow it down into like a list of like 10 wines, say for example, for a place? How did you go through that process?
I mean, there's a lot of tasting that goes on.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, you have to trust what the suppliers are telling us. So obviously, I put it to our suppliers to say we wanted to change it. Rough guide of what we fancied, a bit more of an eclectic mix. Yeah. They came with samples, and there was a lot of tasting. And yeah, just go with stuff that you think will go with food as well. Yeah. Doesn't always pan out that way. And again, I'm always happy to be wrong. And again, wine's subjective. Wines that we sat down and loved on a Tuesday afternoon in January might not be liked on a Friday night out on the terrace. Yeah. Well, it was nice to grow that and give a good option.
Yeah, well, we've got a wine tasting coming up, haven't we? For staff training.
Yeah, wine training, yeah.
And that's because the wine list has been like really like refined over the last few menus. And so do you think any will probably change? Are there any that you're not really happy with that you'd rather like change?
No, I don't think so.
Is that just for staff to be able to taste the wine, know what they're selling, and have that?
Well, it goes back to that, giving people a bit of knowledge. And we'll look at like service of wine, so people are confident going to the table, because it does change the customer experience. And all at the end of the day we're here for is to optimize the customer experience.
Yeah, I mean,
if you break it down.
To be fair, there's been a few times where I've gone to pour a bottle of red after I've opened it, they've tried it, and they go, "Oh yeah, that's absolutely fine." Where I poured it and I've accidentally poured it on their cutlery, or occasionally this happened in their dish, and I've gone, "Oh fuck." Like, it's a really bad feeling in order to do that. But in order to get that training, like, you know, it built up my confidence a lot. But now I'm fine doing it. It was just in like the earlier times in which it was my first few doing it. And then that doesn't give you the confidence in order to actually go to that table and do it. So yeah, I'm very happy with doing that. Yeah. I wanted to ask as well, because this is something that James and I talked about on the first episode. And I wanted your opinion on it, because again, don't know that much. Corked wines.
Yeah.
Right. How can you tell if a wine is corked? When a server comes over and they pour it for you, you taste it. Is it really obvious usually?
Oh, massively. If it is actually corked. Yeah. So, a corked wine, there's a chemical that comes from cork. Yeah. Its abbreviated term is TCA. Don't ask me what the...
Yeah, that's fine.
I know you're a nerd, so you're going to Google it later.
Yeah, I will.
And you will tell me the long name. And it comes from the cork, and it gives the wine cork taint. Basically, the simplest way to look at it is wine is made from fruit and it's supposed to smell of fruit.
Mm-hmm.
If that wine doesn't smell of fruit, then there's going to be a problem. But a lot of the time, the TCA will give the wine like hints of wet dog and like cardboard. I'll try and find one at some point.
Yeah.
But it was something we always used at Majestic to customers. We used to do a nice little simple wine course, introduction to wine thing. And we'd always keep a cork's bottle if we had one. Because it does happen. It's a natural product with a natural closure. It does happen. Obviously, the move these days to screw cap, it doesn't happen as much.
Yeah.
What you get with screw caps sometimes is it gets oxidized. If that screw cap isn't fully closed, it gets oxidized, which means oxygen's got to the wine. And then what will happen then is it will start tasting old.
Yeah.
So like, think if you left a bottle of wine open for like a week, or just get a glass of wine, pour a glass of wine at home, leave it for a few days, and then smell it. It will start smelling like raisins and like vinegar.
Yeah,
and
vinegar's kind of
that's oxidation on a wine. So they're the two things that you're looking for when you go over to the table and you do all the wine wankery.
Yeah.
And like the big procession.
Yeah,
Michael McIntyre does a good piece on it. I don't know if you're a fan of Michael McIntyre.
I haven't seen that.
But he does a good old. That must be about 15 years old. It's like about the whole showcase about wine wankery. But yeah, that's what you're testing for. It's not whether the customer likes it or not.
Yeah, that was just for my own curiosity because we discussed it, but I didn't actually look into it yet.
Obviously, if a customer has a glass of wine they don't like it, we're going to do our best to change that.
Yeah,
but that's not what it's for.
So regarding like white wine, rosé, and red wine, I know red wine is prepared like the vinification process is different to white.
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference between white, rosé, and red? Like, how they're prepared? Because I know they keep like some stuff in.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to the grape variety.
Okay.
So there's white grapes and black grapes. So white grapes, you'll pick the grapes, get them from the vineyards, and as quick as possible, you'll press the juice off the skins, and then the skins get discarded, which will bring us on to Pisco later. Which hopefully this is why you've lined up these questions, because you're a professional podcaster. And
yes, I definitely am.
Is that what they call a segue in the trade?
Potentially.
Yeah. When it comes to rosé wines, there's two ways. You can either use black grapes, leave it on the skin, so press that juice off, and then leave the juice on the skin for a short amount of time.
Okay.
Just to get a little bit of colour to bleed in, and then you'll throw the skins away. Yeah,
because they sometimes leave stems in as well, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so what that'll give the tannins. When it comes to red wines, they leave everything in, and you'll get all the tannins and colour from that.
Well, that's what I learned from our orange wine that we got from Romania. It's a white wine prepared through red wine methods, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Which is why it's got the colour.
Yeah.
So they get the white grapes in, press them, then leave them on the skins and the stems, and that gives it a texture.
Yeah.
And you can definitely taste it. It's like tannins that are in tea. You feel it around your gums and your teeth. And the other way you can make rosé wine is you can literally put red wine into white wine.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah. So if you ever see like a Sauvignon Blanc rosé, so that's a white grape. You can't make rosé from Sauvignon Blanc grape, so that would just be one of the winemakers lugging a bit of red wine in.
Whacking it in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
It makes for good wine.
Yeah. Awesome. You really done with your Tommy margarita? I'm getting there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going on a beer, so I don't drink it quite as quickly. That's always my problem. Which is why I often go cocktail and a beer at a time.
Yeah.
Because I'll drink this the same pace I drink.
Anything. But yeah, it's true, because people always get really pissed off cocktails. So they go, they must be so strong. And it's just because it's a small amount of liquid compressed and it tastes good.
Yeah.
You'll drink it really quickly.
If you add sugar and salt and
citrus.
Tequila and lime juice, that's perfect. That's perfect. I could go several after the other on this.
Yeah, I don't think the podcast has the budget for that at the moment. Potentially later on, when we get a bit bigger, we'll get you back for a piss up episode, which I get to.
We'll do it in like a bar in town.
Yeah, there you go. Go into the Mermaid.
Yeah.
No, they make good Tommies there.
Yeah. Bring Mr. Hammond along.
True. Yeah. Next guest.
Is he on next week?
Yeah, I've already got one of the cocktails planned for him next week. I'm still figuring out the next one, but
I think I'd probably guess what it is.
Yeah. You got any ideas? I think I've told you, haven't I?
Have you told me?
I think I have. I want to hear your guess.
Is it a sidecar that he loves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing a sidecar for the first episode for the classic, and then I'm still trying to figure out the not so well known cocktail for the next one. Got a couple questions lined up already, so it's going to be a very interesting episode. So stay tuned.
Do you know the history why it's called a Tommy's Margarita?
I know somewhat, but if you know, then by all means.
Yeah, because it's only been around since the 1990s. It was basically a guy in San Francisco who thought he'd change. He didn't have any triple sec or Cointreau, so he thought he'd just try a bit of sweetness a different way, and had agave syrup. Yeah, because agave syrup is quite a new thing in the 90s. So he made it, and he made it in his parents' restaurant, which was called Tommy's.
Yeah, I think it was called Julio
Berenjena or something like that.
And
classic.
It was a tequila bar as well. And so he was like, yeah, why not? Let me just throw it together. And then it's just become a classic from now.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't had it until really recently.
Really?
Used to love, because I love that lime hit in a drink.
Yeah.
I hadn't had it till quite recently. But yeah, you mentioned the Mermaid, which is a cracking bar in Exeter. Yeah. I only have to get halfway down the steps, and I think they start making one for me. Yeah, no, they make some really nice cocktails. So, yeah. Right, you ready to move on to the next drink? Absolutely.
All right.
So, what pisco cocktail are we making?
Oh,
you can tell me in a minute.
Let's get the ingredients out. Yeah. It's actually a very simple recipe. It's called a Peruvian Elder Sour.
Oh. So
it's a twist on a margarita.
Okay.
But using pisco.
Yeah.
Because all the pisco recipes I looked at, they had apricot brandy or apricot liqueur in them.
Okay.
And it seems like the pisco with those flavors work really well. So I was trying to look for something that was a little different, but that didn't include those ingredients.
Yeah.
Because it was all like pisco punch, twists on pisco sours. And I was like, I don't really want to go for something that is known. I'd much rather go for something that's different, I don't know of, you don't know of, and we'll just see how it tastes.
Yeah.
So it's got 50 ml of pisco in it, 30 ml of elderflower liqueur. We're using Saint Germain, and then 15 ml of lime juice. Okay. And that's it. So it's going to be a little boozy one, as it's using elderflower liqueur as opposed to elderflower sugar syrup. But apart from that, and what I was noticing about our pisco is it's a Chilean one instead of a Peruvian one.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, must be a Chilean elder sour rather than Peruvian one. But it's also made from Muscat grapes.
Okay.
Which is interesting because it's a great brandy from the winemaking regions of South America.
Yeah.
Right. And you mentioned earlier you have some interesting pisco knowledge.
Well, no, I just pretty much what you just said. It's a byproduct of, well, it's originally made to preserve the wines from the region, because obviously kind of in the 1500s, there was no way of preserving wine because they didn't have the tools that we have these days. So a good way of doing it was fortify them by adding some kind of spirit. So it's distilled from the grape skins, essentially. Yeah. And it was exported to places like Madeira and Masada, which are known for their fortified wines. Yeah. I presume you've heard of Madeira and Masada.
I have indeed.
So that's basically where it came from.
Well, because
but I guess the Muscat, because the Muscat's quite a...
Yeah, I had a little whiff of it earlier.
That's where the apricot comes from, because Muscat, if you make Muscat as a wine, so I was starting to jigger.
That's okay.
You get quite a lot of kind of stone fruit characters from it.
Yeah.
I always remember working with someone who used to make... We had a customer... I went off pisco for a long time because I didn't like this customer.
Okay.
He was a bit of a twat.
He changed your whole experience.
Changed my whole life, basically, for this guy. Did you say 30 minutes of this?
Yeah, it's 30
I forgot where I was going with that.
You went off pisco.
Went off pisco, but the guy I used to work with, Akis, who was an absolutely wonderful bartender, he used to make a drink for him, and he put apricot jam in it.
Oh, yeah.
So that...
Didn't steal it that time.
I didn't steal it that time. I can't talk and do it at the same time. I think I've just found this out.
Figured it out.
I thought I was a good multitasker.
But yeah, so what, did he just make so many cocktails with apricot jam?
Yeah, because they used to come in and have pisco sours all the time.
Yeah.
And basically, Keith got bored of this. Was like, well, I'm just going to make something more fun. And he was an absolute magician.
Yeah.
A bit like Jamesy is. Just could
come up with something.
Yeah. So it had apricot jam in.
And what, did it taste nice? Have you tried it? Or did you just drank so much?
I always tried it. Yeah. He was a feeder.
Yeah, like James.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and then you just shake it down and strain it into a coupe.
Yeah,
that's it.
We've got frozen coupes, haven't we?
Yeah, it's just those three ingredients.
But I like that about cocktails when they're simple.
Yeah, simple cocktails work really well.
Yeah. Delicious.
I quite like sour cocktails. I don't like cocktails that are overly sweet. I just think
I completely agree with you.
You lose a lot of the interesting alcohol flavors when it becomes a bit too sweet.
I can't do that with one hand, which is unusual for me. Lots of things I can do with one hand.
But double straining's not one.
Double straining's not one. They're taking the double strainer off you.
We're also just going to use dehydrated limes because we don't have any fresh limes cut. It's a bit of a garnish, but it does just look like a margarita. But I mean, that's natural from having lime juice in it.
Yeah. It's only 2 ingredients away, right?
3 ingredients. Oh, yeah, 2 ingredients away. Sorry, just the incorrect.
I thought you were the cocktail expert.
I was meant to be, yeah, apparently, but one Tommy margarita and it changes it. All right, one up taste. Cheers.
Eyes and teeth when you cheers.
Oh, it's interesting. You get the elderflower. I'm not sure you get as much of the pisco, which is strange. You don't get.
You do get a pisco. I got a good mouthful.
I just got a big mouthful of like elderflower going on.
Did you?
Yeah.
Elderflowers can be quite overpowering.
Yeah, but
I'd be really happy with that in a bar.
It's weird because elderflower tends to be one of those things that you pair with like flavors that are really delicate, like peach, because it like adds to it, but doesn't have that like big front like flavor at the front that you'd have with other
I've only ever thought of elderflower with like using lemon juice as well in cocktails. I think the lime works well with the pisco though.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm definitely getting that kind of a bit of apricot-y, peachy kind of flavour.
Yeah, and I think that's why all the ingredients kind of have it. It's quite a short drink as well. I mean, it's only like 95 ml.
Yeah.
So just under 2 doubles.
Yeah, that's good.
And which most of it is alcohol. So, yeah, all right, grab a seat and have a chat. Yeah.
It's the same with wine. People go, oh, I want a sweet wine. Yeah. Actually, all they want is a fruity wine. Okay. And it's still dry.
Yeah.
Like Sauvignon Blanc is still dry. But it's those, because the perception of you smell passion fruit and mango and pineapple on a wine. Yeah. You think it's going to be sweet. Yeah. Because that's what you associate with those fruits.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Because I thought they just naturally added sugar into it.
Yeah, I mean there are sweet wines.
Yeah.
But when most people ask for a sweet wine, it's just they want something fruity.
Yeah. It surprised me as well because like the dessert wines we have, we serve about 75 ml for like a standard portion of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize dessert wines that we have are quite expensive. In comparison to like, I don't know, a bottle of our Malbec, like the bottle of our dessert wine is like maybe 2 to 3 times the price of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
because of the process.
Is it literally just because of that? I thought it was just we bought high quality dessert wines.
There is a bit of that as well.
Yeah.
It's a combination of both. You can get cheaper dessert wines.
Yeah.
But they don't deliver the complexity. With dessert wine, you can get such complex flavors because of the process with the grapes and the drying the grapes and how they're stored after that. It really brings out loads of different characteristics and complexity and layers.
Because drying the grapes before you put them in results in a much richer flavour.
Yeah, of course. So it evaporates the water out. So you've got concentrated flavour in the water that's left.
Yeah.
Before you take that juice away.
Yeah, which I think is a really nice technique that they use. And I was actually thinking about this on my drive in. You know, me being the professional podcaster I am, thought about the questions before time, and we had a chat
on that 10-minute drive in.
Yeah, actually it was more like 20 minutes. Got stuck in a bit of traffic. 5 p.m. But yeah, we had a conversation a little while ago about soil within wines, and you had a glass of wine after you finished your shift, and you were like, "Oh, there's got a lot of flint in it," right? And you were having a chat about that. I don't know what specific wine it was, but there's a fucking hell. Tommy's margarita in a shot. I can't speak. I'm starting to slur.
I have that effect on people.
What, did they just start to like drool out their mouth and not be able to do anything? Does the soil really like make that much of a difference? Do the grapes like suck up the
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. So when I was probably trying the Loire Valley Sauvignon we've got.
Yeah.
So that flintiness, yeah, wouldn't necessarily. It does come from the soil a little bit because it's really limestoney soil.
Yeah.
Really chalky soil. It does affect it. It affects how the vines grow. If you've got really fertile soil. I mean, this is really nerdy.
Yeah, go on. I love nerdy stuff, as you know.
So if you've got really fertile soil, the vines grow willy-nilly and produce loads of grapes.
Yeah.
And what you'll find is that will go into cheaper wine because they've got loads of grapes.
Yeah.
And then if you get into harder soils, the vines have got to work. So the harder a vine's got to work, the better the wine's going to be. Okay. This is very vast generalisation.
Yeah.
But then you do have lots of different soil types which do affect the flavor, the final result and the flavour. So you look at like Champagne, it's really kind of chalky soil, which is why it's very good in the southeast of England, because of those chalk streaks over. So White Cliffs of Dover, that's the southeast of England, and down here, just up the road at Pebblebed, they've got that kind of streak of limestone as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
Well, we had a chat a little while ago when we were.
Excuse me.
That's okay. There was an evening that we do with our head chef where you put together a menu. We choose like wines from basically celebrating local food and local wines. And we had a massive conversation about how English wines are different to the typical wines that people would usually drink from hotter areas.
Yeah.
And you were saying, well, obviously the grapes aren't going to have as much heat. It's going to be a lot colder. And so you're not going to get as much fruitiness usually as a generalization than you would with like a French or a Spanish or an Argentinian wine, which I thought was quite interesting. I was wondering whether you had anything else like to touch up on about that.
Yeah, so grapes obviously it's a plant producing a berry, and it needs sun to ripen that berry and give it the phenolics, which then end up as flavour in a wine. There's a lot about grape variety and what grape varieties survive in England. And you've seen a massive shift. Well, there has been a massive shift in the last 20 years, kind of with the big. I'm not going to say climate change. I'm going to say it.
That's fine.
Climate change. So people are finding that they can, or winemakers are finding they can grow grape varieties that in different areas. Yeah. So it's getting that way, but you still in a cooler climate, you'll get a completely different wine to if you grew it in sunshine all year long. So if you take very, very good example is a French Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire Valley, which would be classed as a cool climate, versus a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, would be classed as a warmer climate that gets the sunlight all day, every day in its growing season, and that's where you get the tropical flavours and all the fruit from. Whereas the French Sauvignon Blanc will be more refined.
Would it be much more dry?
Well, that's what I was saying about dryness and sweetness. They're both dry. The Sauvignon Blanc has that acidity that will create a dry wine, and the vinification methods will be to create a dry wine. But it will be more tropical, real aromatics on the New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, whereas it will be more kind of grassy, flinty, green fruits, like green apple.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to explain without trying them, but if you put them next to each other, it's a really good example. Try a Chardonnay from France versus Chardonnay from Chile, for example.
Yeah, and you'll taste them massively.
Like you'll be able to smell banana and pineapple on the one from Chile, but the one from France will smell all minerally and lemony.
Yeah, which kind of segues into my next question, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I wanted you to chat a little bit about Old World versus New World wines.
Okay. Is this the wine podcast now?
It's just something that I thought you had a lot of knowledge on, and so it would be a bit dumb of me in order to like not expand my own knowledge, but also everybody else's out there, because those terms get tossed around a lot. But like, I was just wondering if you could talk more about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually really simple. The Old World is basically just Europe, where wine started getting grown, and then the New World would be classed as the new places, like basically the Southern Hemisphere, where wine got taken. So if you think Old World, you think in France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Austria to a certain extent, Romania, Hungary, and they've all been doing it for
donkey's years.
Well, thousands of years.
Yeah.
Talk about wine in the Roman times, and I didn't mention Italy there. which is very remiss
all
of
the
me.
Italians are going to be annoyed.
Because that's a big question for people who love wine is, if you could only drink wine from one country for the rest of your life, where would it be?
Okay. Yeah.
And my answer would hands down be Italy.
Really?
Absolutely.
See, I know
a lot of people go France because champagne.
Yeah.
But anyway, maybe that's something for you to think about and discover.
I'm a French wine drinker anyway, so
there you go.
Yeah, I would have to say France. But I know you love the Portuguese red that we have because it's near to Porto, so it's got a lot of the same grapes as port within it.
Yeah, you find you get an affinity to some places, and also like you don't try different wines all the time.
Yeah.
Like even if you love wine, you can't keep trying different wines, and eventually you go, oh, that's one I like.
Yeah.
Or that's a style I like.
Yeah.
Stick with it.
And this was interesting as well. When people go and do wine tastings, right, they go to a vineyard, they get a tour around, and they're all looking forward to the wine tasting at the end. Obviously, it's for the vineyards to try and sell them wine that they can take home with them. But what's like, as someone who's like experienced within wine, do you really take in all of the different stuff that the vineyards are doing with the different wines that they serve you at wine tasting?
They're all doing different things, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And they've all got their old-fashioned methods or really new world methods. I'm lucky enough, I've been to quite a few vineyards.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're just big fields on hills. Because all the best vineyards are on hills with fantastic views. Mm-hmm. And you get completely blown away in the tasting room because most of them put their tasting room on the best vista.
Yeah.
And they serve you food and ply you the wine and you think it's the best thing in the world. Yeah. A lot of them do it very differently and they all do it different. It's like saying, what do we do? How does our restaurant operate versus a restaurant in town? It'll be completely different. It's like who's running that? They're all family run, or most of the time, unless you go to the big corporate ones. Which
but they're all passed down usually.
Best to steer clear of. And same in restaurants and whatnot.
Yeah, independent is usually really good because they're the ones that dealt with it for ages.
It's people who care about what they're doing, and most of the time you go to. I mean, even just up the road. I talked about it earlier, and we've got a Heron Farm down the road as well. Yeah, like two really local vineyards, and they've got one person who's been doing it for years and years, and that's the person who planted the grape, who cares for it all winter. Like today's been frozen all day out there.
Oh yeah, no, it's been freezing.
But I know that Alex at Pebblebed probably has been out there all day, like getting ready for what's to come, and then he'll be the one there at harvest testing the grapes to make sure they've got the right sugar in or.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that people don't really realise that goes on with kind of the preparing of alcohol as well. Like, well, I went to France at the age of 16, went with some friends, family, and we went to a Combier distillery, which they distill like triple sec, typical French like Cointreau, and absinthe, loads of other liqueurs. So we went around, did a whole tour, and the French are a little bit more loose on drinking when you're younger. Obviously, it's still like illegal to like drink under the age
just
of 18.
Just that broad brush. You just killed the French legal system off.
Yeah, I mean, I am half French, and there have been a few occasions. To be fair, the French are usually like, oh yeah, if you're having dinner, you can have a glass of wine with dinner, and that's the kind of way they do it. Yeah. Which doesn't really get done as much within England, especially below the age of 18. But went around this whole distillery, and it's really interesting to see what you said about like vineyards and how you have all the wine tasting, because the tasting we had in this distillery was just, oh yeah, here you go, here's a shot of triple sec, see what you think of that. And so we'd all get past a shot of triple sec, try that. Oh, here you go, here's a shot of absinthe with sugar and water, here you go, we'll try that. And they would go through pretty much all the spirits we saw prepared with it. Probably like 8 to 10 different ones. So you'd end up having 8 to 10 shots within the space of half an hour. And then you've got to drive home afterwards. Because they had no public transport. It was out in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, it was a really strange experience. And all my friends' family were like, sip the absinthe. Were like, oh, I don't like it. And I was like, oh, it's not too bad, because I've been used to drinking Pernod with my family. And so they were like, yeah, sure, you have it. And I had like 5 absinthe ones. Yeah, I had a lovely sleep that afternoon.
Yeah, you definitely
a little siesta.
Talk to me about the Pernod thing, because I don't get it. But I know there's someone who used to run the village pub I grew up in the village I grew up in. and they'd have Pernod on it. I'd do it, and it's like,
yeah, it's horrendous.
Yeah,
it's
okay,
it's just fine. It's just aniseed though. If you like licorice,
it felt like a cough syrup like that I was taking as a kid.
But do you have it neat?
No, it was with water and a block of ice.
Yeah, that's how it's meant to be served.
Okay.
It's meant to go cloudy when you have it.
Yeah.
And then my French family.
A bit of louching.
Yeah, they'll literally just like bring a whole bottle of Pernod and it'll be gone by the end of the night. But it's usually as an aperitif as well. So like bitter drinks before you have stimulate your hunger, all that type of stuff. So yeah, it's just one of those that they seem to drink a lot over there. But us in England don't really. But I mean, we've had a bottle of Pernod. It's not even open in the fridge behind me. But we've had it just in case somebody wants it.
Yeah, there's a few bits like that around.
Yeah, I know. We've got Advocat from last year that we did. We served loads of snowballs over Christmas.
Did we?
Then,
yeah. Good.
Yeah, and then it just didn't happen again.
What was the... Someone asked for a 1970s style drink. I can't remember it. No? That's a really terrible anecdote, sorry.
It's all right, we can pause if you want to think of them.
Is that your pause time?
No.
What was it they asked for? And then I made...
Did you make a cocktail?
Was it you were here. Kitchen? It was when I made with the cream in the... It was last Sunday, not yesterday, the Sunday before.
Was that not the signed by Cacao?
No, it was in the little shot glass. Do you remember? And it was Kahlua with the Irish cream.
Yeah. What was the name of it?
I googled it. It was like Sheridan's.
Sheridan's. Yeah. So, and you went to go talk to that old lady as if she'd ordered it. And it was actually the young lady that was at the table. Actually, that's for me. And you were like, oh
no. But who ordered it? Like,
yeah, it was just such a weird thing. They asked for a certain type of sherry. Whether we had that, wasn't it?
Yeah, they wanted cross sherry, and that is definitely. So my grandma's 92, and she has Bristol cream on the go all the time.
My granddad used to have Bristol cream all the time as well.
Yeah, and like that's just always like I'll go around. I'll be lucky to get away without at least 2 sherries.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what time of day it is. But yeah, she was asking about cross sherry, and it's not something that it's worth having in. I don't think because. Like that was one request in however long. But then, yeah, her daughter asked for
Sheridan's.
Which is... I managed to make something which tasted similar. It's coffee liqueur.
And essentially Bailey is something similar.
Yeah.
Like within a bottle that you would pour together.
So yeah, the thing is, I can remember my parents used to have a lot of house parties is the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Dinner parties.
There you go. Yeah.
And they used to get them, and then you just pour it. It's got 2 spouts.
Yeah.
I think one's longer, so it
layers it.
It layers it. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Is it?
Well, I mean, you looked at the bottle.
I guess we spend all our time making
layered drinks.
Layered drinks now. So.
Yeah, and like baby Guinness, you have to layer it with a bar spoon.
Yeah.
Irish coffees, you have to layer.
But I did Google it, and we managed to make it, and
she was happy with it. She said it would tasted like one of the best she's had. So.
I mean, it was boozy, but
yeah, but I mean, we ran out of Baileys at that stage. You made your own. You made your own Baileys. Yeah, but it tasted nice until Charlie came over and had the rest of the cream that he made. He loves that. Genuinely, anytime I make a cocktail that has like Cotswold cream in it and double cream mixed together, he'll just like drink the rest that's in the shaker.
Good.
Yeah. No waste here.
We're very good. We're a very good business that has zero waste scheme, aren't we?
Absolutely. I mean, we used leftover lemon sugar syrup from the kitchen for one of our cocktails. We used leftover chickpea juice, the aquafaba, so we can use in our cocktails. You know, trying to maximise.
So yeah, I've used a bit of aquafaba because we had a restaurant cocktail bar for a little bit, and we tried to push veganuary, as everyone does.
Yeah. With
a small independent business in Exeter, and yeah, we tried to make some cocktails out of aquafaba. I'm not sold on it.
I think it's
I don't think I was sold before, and maybe that was my mind blocking it because I'm a stubborn bugger.
You can really, whenever you like smell it, you can just smell it just smells like bean juice.
Yes.
And when you like make it, use a cocktail with it, like use it for a sour, say for example, you really smell the like earthiness of it, and that's why we use foaming bitters here a lot. But especially.
But have you smelt those?
Yeah, but they don't give much of a smell to them.
Not in the drink,
within a cocktail. If you put a lot of them in, they do a bitterness towards the end. And one of our bartenders, for one of the cocktails, put like a whole syringe of foaming bitters in when making like our pommes fizz.
Which one?
I won't say, but
you'll tell me later.
I tasted it afterwards, and I was like, you could really get the bitterness through it. Whereas if you put 2 to 3 to 4 drops and just shake it a lot, it tastes like so much better cocktail. But yeah, I just like using foaming bitters for the moment. We have done aquafaba for a bit, but it didn't really work with the cocktails we have on the menu. Some it really does work, some it doesn't. So,
right.
Yeah, but if you want some aquafaba sometime, I can just talk to the kitchen. They open like a massive like thing of chickpeas like every day to home make our hummus. So if you want some to take home.
I'll pass on that.
You sure?
Yeah,
still not sold on it yet?
No.
I didn't really sell it that much.
No. Okay.
Well, yeah, this is the thing though as well, is that I find that I'm usually the one asking the questions and the person's the other one talking for very long, and they end up getting very parched. They've either finished their cocktail, or like Zach, they just drink their water and leave their cocktail on the side, then down it. What the fuck? Ghost.
Gary's here.
Gary the ghost.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's 6:30 on Mondays. Not usually people here.
True. We do actually have a ghost in Winslade Manor. Matthew has the photo of the ghost. Not.
I definitely don't have a photo of the ghost.
You brought it out the other day. You don't have it with you. But you showed her like the history of the manor with a photo of the ghost.
There's a photo of the ghost in that.
Yeah, you said to Jack, the guy you were having drinks with, there was a photo of the ghost inside it.
Oh, I probably lied about that.
I believed you at face value.
Well, that's where you've gone wrong all the time, Andre.
Yeah.
That's where you've gone wrong.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is a ghost in this place.
Delicious.
Yeah, no, it was actually a really nice cocktail. And I think somebody could easily just sing that in one and then be fucked.
Yeah.
I don't think the shot of tequila helped, to be fair. That's why Zach will be annoyed watching this. He watches, like, him and his girlfriend watch it at the same time. So him and Chelsea, they'll sit at home and they'll watch the podcast together. Like, oh, they?
What, like a TV episode to wait for? Well, in that case, hi, Zach. Hi, Chelsea.
But yeah, no, I just thought it was quite funny, really, because I went down to grab some ice from the kitchen the other day, and Chelsea was like, "Oh yeah, you should put something at the end of Zach's episode, like you did with James." I don't know whether you watched the end with the one me and James. When it got to the end, we both like said our goodbyes, finished. And I was like, "Oh my god, I need a piss so bad," and James was like, "Me too. Let's go in the ladies' toilets." Nobody was about. Kept that in, and I didn't add anything to the end of Zach's because I had to upload it before coming into work at 11 o'clock. So I just set it uploading. And then...
No, I haven't quite got to the end of either of them. I'll listen to this one until the right at the end.
Okay, good. I'll be watching your watch time on YouTube.
That's really nerdy.
No, I get statistics. It's actually really interesting the amount of statistics I get on YouTube regarding like watch time.
I do that on Spotify.
Click-through rate. I also get some statistics on that, but not as many. How people find the video. So it can be WhatsApp, Snapchat, all of these pages. I can see whether somebody's clicked through it from a Snapchat link. I've only sent it to one person, so I know that person sent it to other people for them to listen to. It's really weird how long each listener listens for, what age groups there are. I've got like a 60-year-old person watching my YouTube.
That's impressive.
I know. I was quite surprised.
Is it any relation of you?
No, I don't think I have a relation that's that old that would be able to understand.
Andrew?
Yeah, but he doesn't have YouTube.
That's fair enough.
He's only recently got into Facebook, in which he just watches like Bruce Lee and martial arts videos. So I feel a lot more drunk from this one than I did with the one with Zach.
I feel a bit like...
It's because you drink it within an hour. You drink a cocktail and you've had, what, like a beer?
Well, that's my third beer.
Yeah, and then a shot. So that's two
I'm
doubles.
A bit like droopy, and also I'm knackered.
Yeah, that doesn't help when you're tired. Alcohol is so much harder. That's the thing, though. We at the end of one of the festivals that I did, which I'm going to talk about with Joe, I noticed after like a 12-hour shift and 5 hours sleep, I'd go in for 2-3 pints within 2 hours. And usually that would be a fine level for me. I was walking out with a bar and I was like, fuck me, I can't walk in a straight line. I was like, I feel mentally fine, but my body just reacts so much differently to alcohol. Yeah. And it's just,
what if you're tired?
Yeah, it's just how your body's like not able to process it as quickly.
Yeah. If you're tired or you're like a little bit stressed, like completely get.
And that's what I find
so
really
quickly.
Yeah, it's.
Like I could sit here sometimes and I could drink all night.
Yeah.
And walk out no problem and be fine the next day. And sometimes I'll have 3 drinks.
Yeah.
Donk.
Well, it's also if you're ill as well. If your body's fighting something, it's not going to put all the resources towards like digesting that alcohol and getting it out of your system. And so it will focus on fighting the infection. If you have like 4 shots really quickly, your body won't realize. You'll get really drunk. And then it'll be like, oh, fuck, that's actually worse than what we're fighting. So it'll focus on the alcohol. And then you wake up the next morning feeling more ill. So, yeah, it makes a load of sense, really, when you think about it.
It does.
But, yeah.
It's best not to think too much, though.
Oh, I think all the time, mate. You know that. And I figured out, I'm entering a cocktail into a competition. I figured out, you were listening to classical music the other day. I figured out what the art thing that it has to be inspired by is. So I'll tell you about that a bit later. And then hopefully, if I do get into the national finals or international finals, might become Italica's bar of the year right here. Then we can go through the cocktail and I can take you through it and what the thought processes are.
Always.
So yeah, be quite interesting. Anyway, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I've
loved it.
I know it's been a bit later than you usually get home on a Monday, but you would usually have the day off, wouldn't you?
It varies. I'm not. Yeah, it doesn't matter. No, it was lovely to come on.
Yeah,
I feel like I've learnt some stuff. Nice to revisit the wine bit.
Is it?
Don't often get to talk about. I wasn't expecting as much.
Yeah, no, it was just so many things came to me, and I go, I don't really know as being a cocktail bartender, and I thought it'd be interesting for things that people at home should know about. But yeah, no, is it weird being on this side of the camera versus the?
It is. Yeah, I can't believe I've made it through without swearing.
I've sworn multiple times, so
yeah,
it's an explicit podcast. So do you want to chuck a couple in towards the end?
I'll just do it right at the end. I'll just mash it. But yeah, no, good luck with the rest of the podcast. Good luck with next week. I think you might need it.
Yeah, I know that's going to be an interesting one.
And yeah, I just want to revisit the point. If anyone comes to this bar and wants to drink anything from this department, which is our gin selection, they're more than welcome.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be shamed by that idiot on the first episode.
Yeah, if you order a gin and tonic, always be more than happy to help you with your gin and tonics. If you want a recommendation, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm slowly making my way through tasting all of these. I've learned literally so much more just from creating that cocktail for that competition. Like, my gin information has just gone. Really,
gin information?
Gin information, yeah, there you go. Good little pun.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, no worries. Oh, that's it. We're done.
Good work, mate.
You want to wank those swear words in?
Fuck you, cunt.